Shalom, Yashrala. This your brother Dawud coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. All right, so I want to jump into this here lesson real quick, but just as a quick side note, as you can see at the top, it says Rastafari TV. And also when I go through this here article, there's going to be some other words and things like that, you know what I'm saying, that we don't necessarily subscribe to. So don't choke on those bones. It's more or less the information that was written about in here. And I happen to choose this here website because it kind of touched on something in the scriptures and it got good visuals. All right. So it's not that, you know what I'm saying, we pushing all of these doctrines that these people are standing for, but nevertheless, there was good information there. All right. So with that, I wanted to bring out, I wound up saying something at camp, man, I was looking back at the video, just being heavily in the spirit, man, looking at all these things coming to pass. As you hear on the news talking about Boeing, the problems going on with Boeing and whatever whatnot with these planes or whatever whatnot, all these different things. Sometimes we look at things and we wonder, like, I wonder what's behind all of that. Are they trying to close out that company, put so much dirt on that company name because they're about to raise up another company, whatever whatnot they want people to go into or whatever, or whatever's behind all these things. But nevertheless, just looking through the scriptures and things like that, spiritually discerning these things, all right, we see the prophecies coming to pass, all right. So like I said, with the Boeing and all these different things, all right, you're going to be able to see these curses falling upon Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right, now when you go back into the history of a lot of these things, which this article will go into, you'll realize that literally every company here in America, all right, except for maybe your mom and pop little stores, like you might have a little mom and pop restaurant that just opened up, yesterday or some shit like that, may not have necessarily fall up under this here category. But for the most part, the majority of all these, for every one of these huge companies that you have here in America, or all these really big companies that you have here in America and all these things like that, they all pretty much they start off of slavery or benefited from slavery some kind of way. All right. And so now when you're starting to see these things, happen here in America, all right, if you're just a regular American looking around at these things, you're starting to see that basically your country is falling and collapsing. Everything is collapsing here in America, all right? But there has to be some kind of meaning behind all these things, all right? So for a spiritual man looking at these things, all right, especially, well, you would be an Israelite, but nevertheless, an Israelite that know this here truth and that's got their eyes open to these things, they're seeing that the Most High is bringing this here judgment down on Esau Edom. All right, now I'll grab it in the scriptures, but I'll go ahead and quote it right now, talking about in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7, talking about how the Most High was going to bring all these here curses. What curses? The curses he put upon us. And what? Deuteronomy 28 and verse 16 on down. Which some of those curses say that pretty much whatever we set our hand to, it was basically going to turn to shit. It was going to basically curse everything that you basically put your hand forth to do. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to succeed in none of those things. You know how they have it saying, everything I touch turn to gold? Pretty much that was pretty much our blessing. But if we would have kept the law, statutes, and commandments, you know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, we didn't keep the law, statutes, and commandments. We wound up going off breaking the covenant that we made with the Most High. All right. So what? He brought upon these curses upon us. And so part of those curses would be everything that we would put our hand to would pretty much turn to shit. Right. We wouldn't be very prosperous in a lot of the things that we would do here. Like another one of the curses, we would build a house and another man would dwell therein. We would plant a vineyard and another man would eat thereof, So therefore, all the things that we would do according to what we wanted to do, yeah, I'm going to plant this vineyard, I'm going to get rich off of it. Nah, bro. Another man going to wind up getting rich off of your shit. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm going to build this here house. Nah, man, another man going to live in that house. You see what I'm saying? So these are the curses. But nevertheless, like I said in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7, those curses are now being lifted up off of our people and being translated over into Esau Edom. All right? So when you go on and start thinking about these different companies here in America, like I said, if you were just an American looking at these things here, all right, you would be like, oh, man, what's going on? Everything's collapsing here. Everything is going bad here. All right. Now, to touch on all these things, like I said, all these companies pretty much got their start off of slavery. They was all built off of the backs of these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. Now, we throw that around a lot, and a lot of people probably heard all of that. You know what I'm saying? And just in general terms, they know, yeah, we had slaves here in America or whatever, whatnot, and they wound up building up a lot of the shit here. Or you might know it as well, they had slaves here, they was making them work, and then they didn't have to pay their slaves, so it was free labor. All right, but nevertheless, those are your main basic ways of people understanding that America was built off of slavery. However, a lot of these corporations got their start, their front end, and they got everything up off of them, all their gains basically up off of slavery. All right, so we're going to go into a couple of these here companies. All right. And just as you can, this is just a small surface of it. You know what I'm saying? I typed in Google search companies that benefited off of slavery. You know, there's a couple different pages, or there's a lot of pages on this, but nevertheless, you know, I just grabbed one, like I said, with a couple different visuals in there. All right. But nevertheless, you know, keep that in mind about these here corporations and the corporations that spawn off of these corporations and things like that. All right. And you'll see, like, you know, I might read through some of these corporations because you'll notice that some of these things, like, let's say Bank of America. Bank of America wasn't around back in those days, but nevertheless, the parent companies that will wind up merging before they turn to their name or all that wind up becoming, they was basically the same thing. You know, you just wind up changing your name. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, these are the same corporations that are around today that are these so-called too big to fail, or these super rich. And you had these Edomites talking about, oh yeah, we super rich because we did this and that, good investment. But no, the truth of the matter is, you got all of this off of our backs, man. All right, so we're gonna go into this here article and show you these things, and then so you can put this in perspective of why all these corporations are starting to are failing and everything like that. Like here in America, man, I went to go to the store the other day. You know what I'm saying? Like from where I live, it's actually closer for me to get to this here Kmart than it is to get to the Walmart, right? And I was just gonna go get a water hose or whatever, whatnot, a spray nozzle. You know, just go walk up into the store, just walk in, walk out real quick, you know. But nevertheless, I go over to the damn Kmart parking lot, which I normally pass the plaza all the damn time. But come to find out, damn, the damn Kmart gone, you know. Kmart, they done went out of business and so on and so forth. And all these different things, all these other companies and corporations going out of business, or they having to be bought out by other companies and things like that. You seen the failure with Boeing and all these different things, stock market failing, infrastructure in here, everything is failing over here in America. Why? Because the blessing is coming up off of Esau Edom, and now the curses are falling upon them. All right. And all these here companies that got their riches and their startup off of us. All right. Now they're about to start getting their payback. All right. Again, we living in beautiful times, man. All right. So for those people like, oh yeah, you gonna get heaven one day. This is the white man's heaven, but you're gonna get heaven one day. Now we ain't talking about, for some of us, it's gonna have to be for after we die. We're gonna have to be brought back. We'll, come back to heaven, but we're gonna have heaven here on earth. All right. But you starting to see the transition of all these things. All right. The kingdom of Esau is being brought down and the kingdom of Israel is being raised up. All right. So let me jump into this here article. All right. So it says boycott 21 major corporations that got rich from slavery. All right. And again, like I said, we're not really supporting this here website or anything that they talking about. So talking about boycotting these here companies. Hey man, there's really no point of boycotting these here companies, because in reality, I mean, it's not really going to do nothing for you, to tell you the truth. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what we're looking for anyway, man. All right. But nevertheless, here goes, you start to see some of the images. All right. You see this here image, all right, that, that we use on a lot of our songs. Like I said, over the weekend when we was out on the highways and the byways, one of the brothers started speaking about certain things, you know what I'm saying, and slavery and things like that. And I don't know, it just got into my spirit, and I picked up this here sign that you see on the screen. All right. We have a big sign of this, you know what I'm saying, which is, we actually got a little more in depth to this sign, but nevertheless, these are the blueprints of the slave ships. All right. And all these little so-called dark spots, if you zoom in, let me see if I can get zoomed in a little closer. These are all bodies. All right. This is how we would have been what they call tight packed on these here ships. And you really can't see how bad it is. This is a top down view. There will be multiple levels, like how you see these people here. There will be boards over top of all of them. Then there will be another level of them, then another level of them, and so on and so forth. All right. But this is how we got here. All right. Over here on these slave ships, which was prophesied in the scriptures. All right. We was going to be scattered into the four corners of the earth. All right. And we was going to be scattered into all four corners of the earth and every nation. That's what Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64 on down. All right. That's how we got over here. Verse 68 tells us we was going to get over here by ships. These are the markers that's letting us know who we are according to the prophecies, according to the scriptures. All right. Not just because we got so-called black skin, but because this is our so-called heritage. This is where we come from. You know what I'm saying? This is the Most High wrote it down. He gave a description of how his people would be in the end times. And this is exactly, he said his people would be scattered into the four corners of the earth and sold into slavery into all nations on these here ships. And the only people that fit that criteria will be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. It was a slave trade. They was bringing people from over here, taking them over to the other side of the globe, and people from over there to over here. All right. And plus your so-called your brother in the Northern Kingdom, they was enslaved over here first. All right. But nevertheless, now they're not using the King James here, but I'll try to read it as best as possible. It says, therefore, this is what Yahweh saith, your wife will become a prostitute in the city, and your sons and daughters will fall by the sword. Your land will be measured and divided up, and you yourself will die in a pagan country, and Israel will surely go into exile away from their native land, you know, and that's pretty much in the most clearest terms. Like I said, it's not the King James version, but nevertheless, it's just saying that, look, we was going to be sold into captivity. All right. Like I said, we're going to build a house, another man going to live in there. We're going to have a wife, another man going to sleep with her. Our kids going to go off into slavery. You can read a lot of that in Deuteronomy 28 on down, from 15 on down. All right. And hey, verse 64 on through 68 tell you about the same thing. You're going to go be scattered in all four corners of the earth. All right, and you're not gonna see your homeland again no more. All right, we was in exile. This is what it's like being in exile. You know, you're talking about people living in exile. That's us. All right, and like I was referencing Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64. All right, this is a picture of it right here. You're gonna be scattered into the four corners of the earth. All right, people will tell you about the Jewish diaspora. All right, if you look up that word diaspora, is only connected to what? The so-called Jewish people. Just like if you look up the word Messiah, that word, you know, I'm gonna use the word Jesus, but that word is really only connected to Jesus, more or less to say, you know, Yahushua, you know, for those who understand the real name. But nevertheless, you're not gonna find the word Messiah pertaining to anything else. All right, you're not gonna find a car, nothing like that. Oh, Messiah. Oh, that's the Messiah, whatever, whatnot. You're not going to have that, all right? So when you go into the word diaspora, they like to claim that only applies to the Jewish people because they're the only people on the planet Earth that's been in exile into all these different nations, all right? But nevertheless, if you just look into that word diaspora, about a massive spread into all four corners of the earth, more or less to say, and then look at the actual history of when that happened, all right? Because the Jewish people was never in no diaspora. They always moved wherever they wanted to fucking go. Those so-called Jewish people from, 740 AD when they came about the damn Caucasus Mountains with the Khazarian kingdom. You know what I'm saying? That's you know what I mean? That was when they came out and started going around spreading themselves into these other nations. They wasn't taken into captivity in these places, all right? Fast forward up to the Holocaust time. You know, a lot of these people was over in Poland, Germany, Russia, all these different places, all right? Then they migrated, was put into the land of Israel, all right? They wasn't scattered all over the four corners of the earth, all right? Before, really, when the slave ships, when this here started happening, the so-called Jewish people wasn't enslaved and brought over here. They came over here. In fact, they were the ones who was financing the slave trade. They was the ones who was financing the slave ships and things like that. So they wasn't spread around the whole four corners of the earth like the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And like I said, this is part of, like it says in this image, slave trade from Africa to the Americas. All right, this from 1650 to 1860, which it actually go back a little further than that. All right, now I believe it was like 1620 or 1623 or something like that when it picked up real heavy. But really, the first slave ship started coming around, I believe in like 1618 or something like that. All right, but nevertheless, this is your future. All right, a peer map. We got this on one of our signs as well too. You know. But this is, you know, when you was scattered into the four corners of the earth, by what? Way of trade. Now, going back up to this here image of this ship, right? This is how we was taken, all right? Now, I wound up speaking on this, like I said, at camp, all right? Back in those days, you would transport people by a long distance. You see what I'm saying? They didn't have trains and shit like that. They didn't have a lot of those types of things, all right? So what they did, they didn't have airplanes and stuff like that, especially big passenger planes. So what they would do was they would send you on a trip, more or less to say, you know what I'm saying, via a ship, a cruise ship, not a cruise ship, but you know what I'm saying, a big ass ship, right? But nowadays, the modern day ships to transport people around the globe is what? It's known as basically an airship, all right? It's the same shit, but it's just in the air, all right? Just like this. You seen the image of a boat, the inside of a boat. You know, this is two different layers, you know. Let me see if I can get it in here. Shit. All right, this here portion that you see on the screen now will pretty much be the top layer of this here piece. So this is stacked on top of each other. But nevertheless, the shape of this here thing is pretty much damn near like an airplane. All right, you put some wings on there, it's the same thing as an airplane, right? So the modern day ship that you would think of that you would transport people on, modern day today is what? An airship or an airplane, all right? We still got ships today, modern day ships today, but they're not used in the same capacity. Nobody getting on no damn ship to travel nowadays, all right? You got ships to travel. I mean, you got people who, you know, fishermen and shit like that, but that's not, you know, you're not really traveling like that. You're going out to go do something like if you're going to go scuba diving and shit, you're not really traveling. You're not going from point A to point B. You see what I'm saying? Now, these type of ships are being used nowadays for transport of goods. They do a lot of trading things via ships in the merchant city and things like that. Like we also brought out of the camp, you know, Babylon is that great merchant city. Yeah, there's a lot of these big ass ships coming back and forth to America, pretty much like in this image today, but people aren't being transported this way around the globe. People are being transported around the globe via airplanes, all right? So America got their start off of ships like this transporting people. But now modern day today, that same company, all right, if this was a so-called company shipping people around the world, you know what I'm saying, for whatever reasons, whether it be for slaves or luxury, you want to go on vacation, whatever, whatnot, you would get on boats and stuff like this, Titanic and things like that, you know what I'm saying? But nowadays you got these airplanes, all right, this is the modern day ship, you know, your airship. So what? America was built off of slavery. We got over here, the foundation. First of all, before you had all these other things we're going to go into, you started out with these here ships. This is how we got here. All right. Now you starting to see what? Companies like Boeing and stuff taking these hits. Why are they taking these hits? Because like I said, like the scripture say, the Most High is bringing these curses down on Esau Edom, hitting them where all they heard it, you know, breaking them down from their foundations on up. They got rich and all this here power built off of our backs. So the Most High is knocking their foundations down first and foremost before they take them out. All right. Hitting all their infrastructure, their military, all these things that was used to oppress us and things like that. First and foremost, the Bible, right? The scriptures are being opened up to us because they was oppressing us with the scriptures for the longest time. But now what? We waking up to the fact of who we are. So that's one of the tools that's falling away from them. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, these here companies we about to get into, hey man, they all starting to fail as well too. So let me go on down, finish this here article. It says, but nevertheless, look at this here image. This is how we all, you know, got transported around the globe. All right. And so for those people, you know what I'm saying, who want to say that the so-called Negroes only are the Israelites, that's retarded. Because yes, you see so-called Negroes in this here image being transported to like South America, North America, Central America, so on and so forth. However, the people that was over in this land before the so-called white man got here, all right, they was already speaking Hebrew. Modern days today, you look up a fucking Mexican poncho or Indian apparel, what the so-called Indians was wearing, it look exactly like what we wearing on the highways and the byways. Matter of fact, if you find any of the videos of us on the highways and the byways, you know, you can go to our St. Pete channel or our Tampa Bay channel, you know what I'm saying, see where we go, where we on the highways and the byways. My actual, my garment that I wear on the highways and the byways, all right, it wasn't like, you know, a lot of the brothers hand make their garments. I wound up buying mine off of Amazon, right? Now, in order for me to get mine off of Amazon, I wound up typing in Mexican poncho. All right. And, you know, I just added the border of blue, but it's pretty much the same thing that we would be wearing. You know, all I did was added a ribbon of blue at the very bottom, but it had the fringes and everything. All right. That was what they call the so-called Mexican poncho. Right. Just go on Amazon, type it in Mexican poncho, and you got you an Israelite garb. Throw the border of blue on there. Right. Same with the so-called Native Americans. Look at their outfits. They had the fringes come down on there. Like when you see matter of fact, you go back to Macho Man Randy Savage and his old ass outfits with the fringes and shit hanging down off of them, or the Dallas Cowboys old outfits and shit like that, or cheerleaders. Same as the Native Americans outfits. All right, it's basically the same thing with fringes. That's what we was wearing. You know, they found the oldest Hebrew text here in America with these Native Americans and stuff like that. You know, just for you people who think that it's Negro only. Yeah, you know, you could change up the color and stuff like that. You know, same last weekend as well. We brought out about your skin color and everything like that. Long story short, Blake Griffin's son looked like Macaulay Culkin, a straight ass little white boy. All right, but his grandfather is a so-called Haitian, which would pretty much be like the darkest people, not to say the darkest people, but as far as the Israelites, they like the darkest tribe. All right, the so-called regular black man, Judah. All right, he's not as dark as the so-called Haitians. Right, but nevertheless, you know, bringing out how dark he is, his grandson looked like Macaulay Culkin, blonde hair, blue eyes, little white boy. But nevertheless, that's an Israelite. We're not tripping over his skin color. So the same thing in those 3 generations happened to you Native American Indians when the so-called white man came over there with those boarding schools. All right, the majority of the Native Americans actually was dark-skinned people, man. All right, and out here where I live at, there's a big population of Reubenites, all right, the so-called Seminole Indians. You know, right around where we at in Tampa, you got what they call the Seminole Hard Rock Casino, all right, on Seminole Indian land. Not far from where I'm at, you have a place in the city called Bradenton, Florida. They got 2 smaller cities inside of there called Oneiko and Samoset. That was heavy. You can look up a Seminole Indian map, and it's right there in the same area where you go into that neighborhood. You would go into that neighborhood and see it's nothing but a hood of a bunch of black people. When you start talking to these people and everything, they all say, no, we're not even black. We Native Americans. All right. They don't even really know that they so-called Seminole Indians. But you know what I'm saying? If they actually go into the history, they'll find out what kind of Indian that they were. All right. But when you go over and you look at them for face value, they look just like how I look. They look like regular black people. But nevertheless, they all, for the most part, the majority of them will let you know that they so-called Indians. All right. Seminole Indians or whatever, whatnot. All right. But nevertheless, you know, just touching on that again. Hey, and again, I brought out the Trail of Tears, U.S. Highway 41. From that same area I was telling you about, that's where the Trail of Tears started, when they started marching the damn Native Americans on up, all right, with Andrew Jackson. But nevertheless, let me just continue on with this here article. It says, history consistently shows that slavery has diminished the quality of life and morals for all people, especially, like I said, you got to throw out the bones, the Ethiopian Africans. We are the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? It says, living in exile at home and abroad, slavery has simultaneously enhanced the quality of life for the children of our captors and colonizers, from the institutionalized racism to block social economic opportunities. All right, and that's exactly what we suffering right now. The curses, basically. Esau's gonna be the head, we're gonna be the tail. The stranger that's among us gonna be up higher than us, we're gonna be down way lower than him. These are the curses we under, all right, and everybody else is telling it. All right, it says, Israelites worldwide often included of African Americans, so-called African Americans. All right, now, like I was saying, on these ships up here, all right, you only really seeing a portion of what it was. Now, when you go down to this here image, like I was saying, they would have, you would see one level at the bottom, and then on top of that, you got more jakes on top. All right, this is where they get tight packed from. Where you see those little, we in here, we squeeze tight like sardines in the cans. That's another racial slur. All right, where they get that packing and stuff like that, or tight packing, is from you so-called Negroes, really you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, because on the ships going back, the so-called Northern Kingdom was going back on these same ass ships, man. All right. But nevertheless, this is what so-called tight packing was. You was so-called, and all these things, man. A lot of your fucking sex toys and shit like that come from these things. Let me give you some examples. When you go to change your oil in your car, or put oil in your car, and you use a funnel, right? Where that funnel comes from is when they was force feeding Jake to eat. They would basically knock their teeth out and put a funnel inside their mouth and pour slop down their throat to keep them alive. All right, because they would lose money if these slaves wound up dying, which we'll get into that a little further. All right, now you have I don't necessarily, now it go a little further than that with the worship of Nimrod and Semiramis and phallic worship, where you get dildos and things like that from. That goes back way further. But necessarily, you have these shits. Now, this is going to get a little graphic, you know what I'm saying, for what people use it for nowadays. But nevertheless, when these goddamn Edomites and these Sodomites be fucking with butt plugs, all right, for their little pleasure, this was some things that was done to Jake, because as you see, they tight packed up in here, all right? They all laying on top of each other. They can't get up to go take a piss or whatever, whatnot. But these Edomites was doing, and they was getting sick and everything like that. What they would do was, and from throwing up, they would be throwing up on each other, pissing on each other, and they would be shitting on each other, all right? So what they would do is put butt plugs up in them so they wouldn't be shitting and shitting on each other and stuff like that, causing more and more diseases that will cause the slaves to get sick and then wind up dying, all right? So this is their how do I say? This is their asset. This is their moneymaker right now. So if they moneymakers wind up dying, then they ain't really got no money coming in. So they needed them to be able to survive this here passage, all right? So a lot of these things, like I said, man, when you get tuna packed inside the little tuna cans, the oil funnels, butt plugs and stuff like that. Not saying that that's beneficial to anybody, but all these different things that they still making money off of come off of the oppression of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? Damn near everything that's around you. And a lot of our people are sitting here proud about certain things or certain companies or whatever, whatnot, not even realizing that these niggas is only in business off of the oppression of your people, man. All right, they don't really give a fuck about you. You wouldn't even realize that these same companies are the same companies that's getting rich off of you, off of your oppression, off of your blood, sweat, and tears. You making them rich, but yeah, you idolizing them because they so-called rich. All right, but continuing on, it says apologies cannot compensate the entire race of people for all of the social and economic ills that they face as a result of their enslavement. They cannot address the residual effects of slavery. They cannot provide job opportunities to a race of people who are experiencing high unemployment rates. Apologies without action for the very state system that they help to create. And that's exactly where we at. We helped build this place, but yet we not a part of this place. You're going to build a house, but you can't dwell in it. Yeah, we built America, but we ain't got no place in America, but just as housekeepers or janitors or whatever, whatnot, you know? It says, you know, just like, hey, we the damn janitors in the hotel, you know, if you know what the W Hotel is, a very expensive, nice hotel and shit like that, man. But we the damn janitors in the, room keepers and shit like that. Yeah, the only time we can go into the hotel rooms is when we go in there to clean up. We can't go and stay in these damn rooms and shit like that, man. All right. It says apologies without action was the very system that helped to create. They helped to create. Had it not been for slaves, many corporations would not be where they are today. For these companies do acknowledge their involvement in slavery, and they simply say, "Oh, I'm sorry." It is to downplay their role and perpetuating the degradation. Are nothing more than a futile attempt to correct a wrong by pacifying the wrong. And that's exactly what these damn Edomites say. You know, you can read about that in the scripture where they say, how does it say? It says, those that oppress them, refuse to let them go and say, blessed be the Lord. Basically, because they was made rich off of this, you know, or going into all these different things. Like, well, shit, you know, they hold, whose oppressors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. It's like, well, oh, well, it was in the past. It was old. Forget about it. It wasn't that bad. Nobody's alive still now from this, and that, and so on and so forth. Nah, man, we the descendants of these people, man, because, like, look, y'all are so rich off of what your foreparents stocked up on or whatever, whatnot. These corporations was passed down and so on and so forth. These people who still own these here corporations started off of our backs. They still eating off of what we wound up getting them. All right. They still eating the leftovers of the food that we wound up preparing for them. All right. We done made this big ass food and sent everybody home with some food. All right. Now they still eating up off of our leftovers, and they over here like, shit, bro, we got food while y'all out there starving. Like, but the food that you got, we wound up making. So how you gonna talk shit about us? How we ain't got nothing? We wound up making the food for you, bro. You got us all fucked up here. All right, but that's how they do. They trying to downplay all these things because why? They don't want to. They know they understand also. Hey man, it's a righteous thing to repay those that trouble you. You know, they can't be hypocrites going around the world like, well, oh, they bombed us or whatever. September 11th happened. We got to go and recompense that. But or all these other things. You know, World War II or the Holocaust. We got to pay them back. You know what I'm saying? 1776. We celebrating Independence Day here in America. We can remember all those things, but the atrocities done to the Israelites. Oh, we got to forget about that. All right. That's them holding themselves not guilty. But continuing on, it says, damn, now I got to go back up a little bit. It says, had it not been for slave labor, many corporations would not be where they are today. And for these companies to acknowledge their involvement in slavery, and then simply say, oh, I'm sorry, is to downplay their role in perpetuating the degradation and nothing more than a futile attempt to correct the wrong by pacifying the wronged. Instead of apologizing, these companies will give back to African American communities by donating to HBCUs, investing in minority businesses, offering more minority scholarships, or launching initiatives to increase the numbers of minority employees. These companies include. All right, so now we're going to get into some of these here companies that got they start up off of America. Now, a lot of these companies we're going to go into, like the banking and the insurance companies, also gave way and gave birth to a lot more companies that started their companies. Because you got to understand, when we get into these banking companies, a lot of companies got they start and got their business loans. A lot of these Edomites was allowed to get loans at lower percentage rates and so on and so forth. Like I say, man, one thing that Jake don't really know about, that Esau know about, is what a 100-year mortgage is. These motherfuckers, hey man, they know what a 100-year mortgage is. Think about that. They paying off a house for 100 years. Think about what they payment on that shit's gonna be. Oh, it's just $5 a month. We live in a damn $500,000 house for $5 a month, because they know that they ain't gonna ever have to pay the damn house off, whatever, whatnot, but they can just live there, whatever. But for us, you know, we paying, you know, just like when you pay for cars and shit like that, you know, a $700 car payment for us, we can get us a damn, little small Chevy or whatever, whatnot, because our interest rates are so high, make it up to $700 a payment. You know what I'm saying? But for $700 a month, you know, these damn Edomites is getting a, top of the line big body Benz or some shit like that, or something even better than that for $700 a month. You see what I'm saying? They getting things at a better rate and things like that we don't even know about. All right. Just like with the subprime mortgage. And that's basically the nigga mortgage, the Israelite mortgage. Yeah, this is for them Israelites. It's not going to be the same thing for the Edomites. All right. So you got to understand that a lot of these things started with the help of these foundational corporations to help fund Esau. All right. So Lehman Brothers, whose business empire started in the slave trade, recently admitted their part in the business of slavery. Like I was saying, these companies like Lehman Brothers and these other banks, they help finance other companies and corporations. Just like when, I believe it was 2008 when Lehman Brothers was going under, all these other companies was failing because they was the ones financing these other companies like General Motors and Ford and all these different things like that, man. All right, so yeah, they might not be talking about General Motors and Ford here, but what? They start from money that was raised up off of these damn Edomites that got their money up off of our backs, man. All right. You know, and here in America, you know, let's say you up there in, I believe Lehman Brothers downtown in like Manhattan or whatever, whatnot. But nevertheless, it's up there in New York. But nevertheless, imagine you know, Jake up there, they're like, man, you know, a good job is working for Lehman Brothers, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Like, and then they turning you down, this and that. They don't want to allow you to go in there and work for them, or they look at you funny, you walk into their business not knowing you basically gave them everything that they got, everything that's on their back, all the clothes on their back and the food that they eat. They wouldn't have it if it wasn't for you. You see what I'm saying? You know, you should be able to walk in the door and they should just be giving you a percentage of what they, you know, oh, my bad. You know, we got all this off of you anyway. Let me give back to you. You know, everything I got is because of you. Let me go ahead and break off to you. You know what I'm saying? Just like how we got the, you know, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, because everything we got come from him, right? So everything they got come up off of us. Like the scripture also say, oh, damn, Salah. damn. Like the scriptures say, so okay, give me a second. Nevertheless, but like the scriptures say, damn, I didn't lost my train of thought there. I didn't want that brother's number to pop up on the screen. But nevertheless, looking at these here things again, you know, all these companies and corporations got their start basically based off our labors. All right. Going back to the curses, you know, you're going to build a house and another man going to dwell therein. All right. We built up all these here companies, but we don't have a piece or a portion in none of these things. All right. They look at us funny like we're going around over there. Or we built up here in America. We got the most invested here in America. We done fought in every war, died in every war. We put in the most labor, sweat, blood, and tears to build this here company up. We spend the most money to keep this here country afloat and everything like that. It's our tax dollars that provide for all they spending and all these different things like that, because the rich get the tax cuts. So we got the most sweat, blood, and tear equity invested here in this land, but we have the least amount of how do I say things that we can pull from this here land. We got the least amount the least amount of shares or dividends coming back from this here land. So we're not eating from the house or the vineyard that we planted. All right. It says according to the Sun Times, the financial service firm acknowledged recently that its founding partners owned not one but several enslaved Africans during the Civil War era, that in all likelihood it profited significantly from slavery. Now in all these situations they're gonna always downplay it and change the numbers up. Oh, it wasn't that bad. We might have had one or two slaves, whatever, whatnot. But motherfucker, all this shit didn't get built off of one or two damn slaves, man. Like we was all over here, but what now? All of a sudden we was all over here. We was all enslaved, but now all of a sudden only a small portion of so-called white people had slaves, and only a small portion of so-called Negroes was enslaved. Come on, man. So the majority of the slave owners was so-called Negroes owning slaves. So how come we still ain't got shit now? You see what I'm saying? You believe all that bullshit if you want to, man. All right. You know, you will believe that, like, these companies, they all got their businesses and they starts from fair trade, fair working, and just working hard. And they tell you, you know, you work hard, you try hard, you invest hard, or whatever, whatnot, you'll be rich one day in this country. They never tell you, nah, nigga, you got to do it by deceit, man. You got to do it, build your shit up off of slavery, man. You need to own some of these niggas and build up. All right. Like, hey, Psalms 2. All right. What was that? Psalms 2 and 8. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thy inheritance, and the uttermost part of the earth for thy possession. The human resource, the number one resource on the planet Earth, man. They was rich off of having us, man. Like, oh, I know what I was gonna say earlier. Scriptures say all nations gonna be blessed through your seed, man. And this is exactly how we blessed America, man. We was over here blessing them by giving them all this here free labor. All right. It says number 2, J.P. Morgan and Chase recently admitted their companies linked to slavery. Today, we are reporting that this research found that between 1831 and 1865, two of our predecessor banks, Citizen Bank and Canal Bank in Louisiana, accepted approximately 13,000 enslaved individuals as collateral on loans and took ownership of approximately 1,250 of them when the plantation owners defaulted on their loans, and the companies wrote in a statement. All right, and again, talking about downplaying these numbers, but nevertheless, you can see how they traded us as a commodity. All right, they used us as collateral for these here loans so that other people can start their businesses. Look, I'll let you have one of these slaves that I got for free. All right, just give me free labor, and you're going to give me a basically collateral, a down payment on whatever, whatnot, so I can make more money off of these things. All right, I ain't got to pay nobody back. All right. New York Life found that its predecessor, Nautilus Insurance Company, sold slaveholder policies during the 1800s. Hey, man, like I was going to out there on the highways and byways, a lot of these insurance companies. Hey, this is the first thing fucking insured was slaves, man. You wouldn't have no insurance company if it wasn't for slaves. They wasn't really trying to insure no fucking horse and carriage, no ships and no shit like that. They was insuring you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. They would cut off your damn ear, all right, and use that like, yo, we got, you know what I'm saying, 300 ears on collected. That means we got 300 slaves on board. Now, if you collected 300 ears before you got on, before you set sail, and you get to the other side, and now you only got, 250 ears, that means you done lost 50 slaves in the transport. That means you're going to get reimbursed for those 50 that you wound up losing because you invested in an investment and you never got it back. All right. Just like when you get a package, you order something offline or whatever, or you're going to send something out, right? And the package, you get sometimes insurance on that package just in case something go wrong. It's insured by the time, let's say, something happened, you send a glass or something in the mail and it wound up breaking. You have that insured just in case when it gets to its destination, it's no longer good. You'll have it covered. All right. It says, according to USA Today, evidence of 10 more New York Life slave policy comes. Evidence of 10 more New York Life slave policies come from 1847 account books book kept by the company Natchez Miss Agent W.A. Britton. The book, part of a collection of Louisiana State University, contains Britton notes on slave policies. He wrote the amount ranging from $375 to $600. A 1906 History of New York Life says 339 of the company's first 1,000 policies was written on the lives of slaves. So like I said, the first few policies, that was the first thing to insure. Before a motherfucker was trying to insure their house, their horse, their chariot, any of these things, they was enslaving you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? N.M. Rothschild's Sons and Bank in London. We ain't really got to go too far into this, you know, like I was saying about the diaspora, all right, and the so-called Jewish people, all right? These so-called Jewish people, the Rothschilds, hey, Red Child, the Edomites, that's who they are. All right, they trying to hijack our identity. These are the main, you know, the chief house of Esau Edom is Amalek, the so-called Jewish people. All right, the Rothschilds. This is the #1 family in the whole wide world, man. This is the biggest crime. This is the biggest damn devil on the planet Earth, man. The damn Rothschilds. And ironically, Jacob Rothschild. See, instead of Esau, Red Child, Edom, that's who the fuck he is. All right. Instead of calling himself Esau, he took our name, called himself Jacob, and then called himself the so-called Jews when they really the Edomites. All right. But again, here, the Rothschilds, the head of these motherfuckers, the reason that they the richest family on the earth is because they took us in captivity. They the head family. All right. I don't have to go too far into all of these people, but nevertheless, well, I'll read it just for edification's sake. It says, this bank was linked to slavery. The company was one of the biggest names in the city of London, had previously undisclosed links to slavery in the British colonies. Documents seen by the Financial Times have revealed that Nathan Mayer Rothschild, the banking family's 19th century patriarch, made his first personal gains, all right, his first personal gains by enslaving Africans as collateral and dealing with slave owners. By their usury, their trickery, their deceit, all right, they was made rich, man. This is how these so-called, this is how these Edomites got rich, all right? The so-called Jewish people got all their money. You talk about these elite Jewish bankers or whatever, whatnot. They got rich off of their banking schemes and scandal. Yeah, that was a part of it, but they got their first shit in order to start investing and starting these damn banks off of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans' backs, man. Selling y'all and taking y'all in captivity, all right? Norfolk Southern, which is a train company. Now, going back into what? Moving around the globe and stuff like that, building this infrastructure, Boeing and all these different things, transporting us, all right? Norfolk Southern also has a history in the slave trade. The Mobile Guyard Company, which is now part of Norfolk Southern, offers slaveholders $180, $3,379 today a piece for enslaved Africans that they would rent to the railroad for 1 year. So, you see what I'm saying? They getting paid off of your work. Instead of you going to work and getting paid for your labor, another man getting paid off of your damn labor, man. So what? Not only are they getting paid off of your labor, but another Edomite is also benefiting with their railroad companies to make even more money off of your labor. So two different people are benefiting off of this, and even a third party who's going to probably be putting their goods on that rail system, all right? It says the Central of Georgia, another company aligned with Norfolk Southern line today, values slaves at $31,303, $663,033 today on record. All right, we're gonna skip that one because they just repeated it. All right, group of enslaved children on board the Daphne. All right, these are pictures, you know what I'm saying, or old postcards of how we got over here. All right, it's no secret, man. No other people has a history like this but the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, USA Today has founded their own parent company, E.W. Scripps and Garnett, had links to the slave trade. Tiffany and Co. Tiffany and Co. was originally financed, or Tiffany and Company, which is, you know, where they sell the jewelry and diamonds and stuff like that for it. Like I said, you Jakes was walking around loving these companies. Oh, my diamonds and this and that, man. Hey, man, these companies got they start off of your backs, man. All right, and you keep putting more and more money into their pocket. First and foremost, they got let me read. It says Tiffany and Co. was originally financed with profits from a Connecticut cotton mill. The slave mill operated from cotton picked from slaves. So slaves on one plantation picked cotton, wound up financing the profits from that. Wound up, you know, free labor wound up financing basically another company that wound up turning into Tiffany and Company, the jewelry company. So not only are they benefiting off of our having us as slaves, the slave labor with the cotton, they making money off of the cotton, and then also from that money, they also using that money to buy another company, which nowadays, modern days, with these new rappers and stuff, buying all these diamonds and stuff like that, is selling even more stuff through Tiffany and Co. All right, Aetna insured the lives of slaves during the 1850s and reimbursed slave owners when their slaves died. So you talk about reparations. All right, when the slaves died or a slave owner beat their slave to death, they was reimbursed for that. They got reparations for the loss of their slaves. All right, but what? They was making all this money off of us, but it's wrong for them to have to pay us back. All right. Aetna Inc., the United States' largest health insurer, apologized for selling policies in the 1850s and reimbursed slave owners for financial losses when the enslaved Africans they owned died. Not only that, but also when the so-called Emancipation Proclamation was passed, they was also reimbursed for all the slaves and all the slave labor and future work that the slaves would have been having. All right, so they made even more money when slavery ended. All right, Aetna has long acknowledged that for several years, shortly after the founding in 1853, that the company may have insured the lives of slaves. May have. You know they damn sure did. This is how they got their start. All right. Again, the first insurance policies were you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. Aetna spokeswoman said, Fred LeBerg in 2002, we express our deep regrets over any participation at all in this deplorable practice. All right. And here goes some of the signs they was going out. Slaves to sell. All right. And this is what they was selling you, going back to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. You was going to be sold for bond women and bond men, and no man shall buy you, or no man going to redeem you. All right. We were sold for slaves on auctioning blocks on the New York Stock Exchange. All right. You was the stock and in bondage. All right. You was the motherfucking first stock that was traded on the stock exchange. All right. CSX Railroad. All right. We're going to skip that because that's pretty much like the same thing. Brown Brothers and Harriman, the oldest and largest private investment bank and security firm in the United States, founded in 1818. So all this investment and stuff on the stock market, the first bonds again, but they was put trading on the stock market like they do modern day today with your social security numbers. That ain't no new idea. The first things, it was us first. All right, we had our slave papers and documentation. We had a social security number, more or less, to say that system before they actually enacted it and putting all these Americans under it. All right. It says Brown Brothers and Harriman, the oldest and largest private investment bank and securities firm in the U.S., founded in 1818. USA Today found that the New York Merchant Bank of James and William Brown, currently known as Brown Brothers Harriman, owned hundreds of enslaved Africans and financed the cotton economy by lending millions to southern planters, merchants, and cotton brokers. So, hey, not only did they make they money up off of the slaves, they also turned that money back and put it back into them. All right. The Barclays, the British multinational banking and financial services company headquartered in London, United Kingdom, has now conceded that companies it bought over the years have been involved in slave trade. They got the Barclays Center and so on and so forth. All these different things, man. All these places, got they money off of the slave trade. I believe that's but Jay-Z who be being so proud about, I believe, owning some kind of stake in, I think it's the Barclays Center or either the basketball team out there. But nevertheless, hey, that should be a shame. You making money off of a company who's making money off of your people still currently today and who got they start up off of your people, man. All right. Hey, and this here image is talking about what the prison industrial complex, how we still today they making money up off of us. All right, I'm gonna briefly read it. It says, I don't know if that's negative 19 cents or just 19 cents an hour. No benefits, no medical, no vacation. All right, penalty for refusal to work, solitary confinement, loss of parole, or loss of programs. All right. Now you can even take that a step further and bring it outside of prison. The same thing happened. You getting underpaid. All right. No real medical benefits. They find ways to get you up out of that. All right. Or no benefits like vacations and all these different things. Now, if you don't work, what they call you unemployed, they demonize you certain kind of ways and either throw you in jail for certain type of things or whatever, whatnot, The Canadian National Railway Company is another one. The Boston Fleet Financial is another one. Brooks Brothers, this is that suit company. The suit retailer started their company in the 1800s by selling clothes for slaves to slave traders. All right, we read that again. Bank of America found that two of its predecessor banks, Boatman Savings Institution and Southern Bank of Louisiana, had ties to slavery, and another predecessor bank of Metropolis accepted slaves as collateral on loans. All right, so your Bank of America. All right, we'll keep going. USA Today reported that its parent company, E.W. Scripps and Garnett, was linked to the slave trade. All right, to be sold. We got this sign as well too. All right, I'm talking about you so-called Negroes. That's who they were selling. All right. Wachovia, which is modern day today Wells Fargo. All right. And even if you look at the Wells Fargo, let me just read this. Or it's not actually on this here article where we talk about Wells Fargo, but when you look at they they like their logo, and you got the horse-drawn chariot and stuff like that, man. Hey, again, they all got their starts off of slavery, man. Transporting goods and things like that on a trade route, then also holding and transporting money and things like that. And they was also in business with their kind of like a safe, but it was a big ass box. I don't know if some of you people can remember having these big ass, almost like a treasure chest type box, but it had a so-called flat top. You know what I'm saying? Remember my grandma had one in her house when we was younger, but nevertheless, you know, Louis Vuitton also got their start like that too. They used to be in business selling them big ass boxes like that to transport things, and it was a good quality box. This is where you see them big ass hand purses and duffel bags and shit that they sell and suitcases. This is where they got their start at, man. All right. And now people be all happy and whatever, whatnot, to wear some Louis Vuitton, and you know what I'm saying? Bank these banks. Oh, they making their money off of you twice, you know, now and then back then. They got their start off of you. Now they constantly still eating off of you, man. It says 2 institutions became a part of Wachovia, Georgia Railroad and Banking Company, the Bank of Charleston. Like I was saying, the railroad transporting, Wells Fargo, same shit, man. All right. Owned and accepted slaves as collateral on mortgage, property, or loans. So, hey, these people was getting houses and all these different things just by owning slaves. It says, USA reported that Wachovia Corporation, now owned by Wells Fargo, apologized for its ties to slavery after disclosing that 2 of its historical predecessors owned enslaved Africans, accepting them as payment. On behalf of Wachovia, I'm not going to read that. AIG purchased American General Financial, which owns U.S. Life Insurance Company. AIG found documentation that the U.S. Life insured the lives of slaves, like I was saying, man. Let me just keep going on down. J.P. Morgan and Chase, another one with these here slaves, all right? And that's the end of this here article. There's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of companies that did this. All right, I just wanted to read some of these here big name companies, all right? Let me get to some scriptures real fast. All right, we're going to start here in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 3. This is talking about basically Esau Edom. It says, "Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. For with thy wisdom and with thy understanding thou hast gotten thee riches and hast gotten thee gold and silver into thy treasures." So these people was wise enough to be able to come together with certain ideas or whatever, whatnot, to be able to fleece the flock, like the usury that the Rothschilds use in their banking, fractional reserve banking, and so on and so forth, using slaves as collateral for, you know, to build all these different things. So they was wise enough to understand these type of things, all right? Verse 5, "By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches." All right, so well, we the greatest country on the earth. We so rich, this and that. But really, you got all your start and all the things that you got. America's the greatest country on the earth because of our work. No, it's because of the slaves that you had here, man. We made America great, just like how we made Egypt and every other nation great that we was up under. All right. But clearly here it says you was made rich off of thy traffic. Just like what? Not because you got traffic jams in America, but because, you know, you have drug trafficking, you have human trafficking, you have all kind of different trafficking, goods and all these different things, you know, meaning the trade of these different things. All right. Let me grab my next scripture. So America was made rich off of this here trafficking. All right. So let me go to Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7. It says, "And Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemy and on them which hate thee, which persecuted thee." All right. So now I was going to read some other scriptures, but, you know, I've been already speaking for quite a while. But nevertheless, like in Deuteronomy 28, the Lord said that basically we was going to be cursing the field and all the things that we do and all these different things. All right. But now these curses are being taken up off of us and falling on Esau Edom. This is why you've seen all these banks failing, all these corporations failing, Boeing and all these different things, their infrastructure, everything's starting to fail them. Everything that was helping them prop them up is now starting to come to a collapse because they all got their funding up off of us. They was living richly basically up off the Israelites, and ultimately they're gonna all be taken down, and it's gonna end with Esau Edom because ultimately he's reigning on top of the whole earth with using us basically, more or less, to say. All right. Let me go real quick to the book of Habakkuk. Habakkuk 2 and 5. "Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire is held in his death, and cannot be satisfied, and gather unto him all nations, and heapeth to him all people." All right. Let me jump down. Verse 9. "Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness into his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul." All right, let me jump to verse 12. "Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city of iniquity." All right, so basically, this is talking about really what Esau Edom did. You know, he came and took us into captivity, built up America off of our blood, sweat, and tears. All right, this whole place, he wanted becoming rich off of the slave trade. All right, we just going through all these corporations, how they all got their start, and how they all super big companies now, investment companies and all these things, giving loans to other these small companies to further enrich these Edomites. All right, and they was made rich basically off of our free labor to begin with. So all their riches really come up off of our backs. But what the Most High say, woe to him that built the city with the blood of another man. All right, or established the city by iniquity, off of the slave trade, unrighteous gettings, or ill-gotten gains. All right. Let me just grab. Let me see. I'll just I'll grab two more and I'm going to close out. This is Jeremiah 30:16. It says, therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be for a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give to a prey. So all the different things that, you know, starting with these other nations, they're going to get their payback, but ultimately Esau Edom, and this is what you see going down now. All right, and it was all made rich up off of the slave trade and off of our backs. All right, let me just really go into this real quick. Isaiah 60, oh man. This is Psalms 2:8. It says, ask of me and I shall give thee the heathen for thy inheritance, and the uttermost part of the earth for thy possession. So this is what the Most High is about to bless us with. So you don't want no reparations, no apologies, or no funds or whatever set up from the so-called white men to try to break you off for what they did. All right, that's not going to help you out, man. The Most High is going to come through with a help out real quick. It says, I'm going to just run through this real quick, skip a lot of these verses in here, but you can go back, because, you know, I made a couple videos on reparations, which goes into all this. But Isaiah 60:4 says, lift up thy eyes round about and see, all they gather themselves together, they come to see thee. Thy son shall come from far, thy daughter shall be nursed at thy side, and thou shalt see and flow together. Thy heart shall fear and be enlarged, because of the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee, and the force of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. The multitudes of camels shall cover thee, the dormities of Midian and Ephah, and they from Sheba shall come to thee and bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praise of Yahweh. All right. Verse 11. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually; they shall not be shut day nor night. That men shall bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that the kings may be brought. All right. Now, verse 16, thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt suck the breast of the kings. Thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. I Yahweh am thy Savior and the Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. Now, quickly just jumping on that one passage there alone, sucking on the breast of these kings. This is what we're going into in this here article. This is how they was made rich, off of sucking off of our breasts. All right, they was sucking off the breast. You breastfeed a baby to what? Feed it, give it nourishment and all the nutrients and things that it needs, right? Same thing. This is metaphorically speaking. You know, you nourishing up and building up somebody, sustaining them, right? They was being brought up, raised up off our titty. We was raising them up off our sweat, blood, and tears. So what? They gonna do the same thing unto us. All right. Verse 17. For brass I will bring gold. For iron I will bring silver. For wood brass. For stone iron. I will make the officers peace, and I exactors righteous. Slakia. So ultimately, long story short, in all of this, the Most High is about to give us a reparation package that's far beyond what we can even understand. We're about to have these heathen. And not only these heathen, but these so-called white people in captivity and slavery. They're going to be slaves up under us, all right? And when they're going to give us back everything, all the resources on the planet Earth, man. All right? So we don't want no little buyouts, payouts from these here companies or whatever, whatnot. It's the thing, you know, that we're looking at now is just rejoicing at the downfall of our enemies, man. We seen all the companies and corporations falling, these curses falling upon them. All we doing is sitting back and watching the show, man. All right? So, you know, I just wanted to bring that out because I had spoke on that at camp, and it's just, you know, something else that coming back up into the scriptures that, you know, you can look at these things in a different light. You know, you know, living here in America, being an Israelite, shouldn't be looking at these things, you know, man, I just lost my job because they didn't shut down or whatever, whatnot. You know, they didn't went out of business. I done lost my job. Fuck, man, fuck, man, nah, man, if you lose your job based off of those things, they downsizing or whatever, whatnot, you rejoice, man. You know, it sucks, you know, because we got to live here. But nevertheless, these are their companies, their corporations, man. You know, I had to fight with this in my own stuff. I used, you know, being a Jake here up under, you know, Esau and shit like that. I used to love my damn master's company more than I love my own shit, you know. You should have the spirit like, well, fuck it. If his shit blow up or whatever, whatnot, that's his shit. It ain't my shit. You know, like back in the old days, in slavery times, it's like, you know, the house start burning down, you the slave, and you wake up, you notice the house burning down, you go in there and wake up massa. you know, our house burning down, the house burning down or whatever. Or master, is we sick today? Talking about, because he's sick, you'd say, is we sick? No, we not sick. His ass sick. Our house ain't burning down. His house is burning down. We need to, you know, show that separation. So when you see these things come to pass, you know, let's say you work for Boeing or these airplane companies or whatever, whatnot, like Delta and whatever, whatnot, they start downsizing, going out of business, whatever, whatnot, these banks and whatever, they closing down. Hey, man, rejoice at that, because it's the downfall of your enemy, man. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone that taught us his truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, acting, pushing his truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong and shalom.